right, you guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, shall we? The biggest news story in the WNBA, obviously, everybody is talking about Coach Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark kind of getting into it on the bench. I have now seen the discourse. I've seen and heard what many of people are saying about this exchange, and I do have some thoughts about it. I have some thoughts about the whole Indiana Fever situation right now, and I'm going to do my best in this episode to share my thoughts with you guys as concisely as possible. No promises, because right now my brain's all over the place. I have a lot of thoughts on this, so let's jump right in. By now, I'm sure that you have seen this clip that is going pretty viral.
The words left her mouth, and the room froze. Caitlin Clark finally stood in front of the microphones and revealed a truth that completely dismantled every rumor currently swirling around the Indiana Fever locker room. While everyone was busy calling for Coach Stephanie White to be fired, Caitlin was ready to ride or die for her leader. This wasn't just a simple clarification, this was a line in the sand that changed the entire narrative of their heated bench argument. The silence surrounding the coach's future was finally shattered by a revelation that nobody in the mainstream media saw coming.
10 minutes of play, so like it was just ugly, disgusting basketball across the board. Okay, so I can understand frustrations in the huddle. I can also understand moments where players and coaches get into it. And even the last time that these two got into it, I came on here and I told you guys, I was like, I actually don't think this is that big of a deal. I don't think it's that big of a deal because you have a fiery player, you have a fiery coach, like this is bound to happen. But now that this has happened twice in a row within 10 days of one another, like, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of concern of what's going on with the Indiana Fever. One other thing that
The footage that started this firestorm is still burned into the minds of WNBA fans everywhere. You see Coach Stephanie White getting absolutely heated with her players during a timeout. Then you see Caitlin Clark, the face of the league, firing right back with her hands up in frustration. It looked like a total collapse of authority on the sideline. Even Raven Johnson looked like she wanted to disappear into the floorboards as she checked into the game. It was ugly, disgusting basketball, and it felt like we were watching a relationship crumble in real time on national television.
From the clips that we see. But the one thing that stood out to me in this little exchange is who is the leader on this team? And I think it kind of starts there with the Fever. I don't think they've established who their leader is. Obviously, you have Caitlin Clark, who is the #1 option, but I don't think she's the leader of this Fever team. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't be the leader of this Fever team, but I felt like she was in more of a leader type position in 2024 as a rookie than she is now. Is Coach Stephanie White the leader of this team? But again, a lot of times, like even if you look at franchises that are winning franchises, let's use the NBA as an example. You look at the San Antonio Spurs.
But this wasn't just an isolated incident of high emotions during a tough game. This was the second time, in just 10 days, that these two have been seen getting into it on the bench. When things happen once, you can call it passion. When they happen twice in a week, people start calling for a change in leadership. The Indiana Fever were out of sync. The defensive rotations were a disaster, and the identity of the team seemed to be vanishing. The frustration in that huddle was palpable, leading many to believe that the bridge between the star player and the coach had been burned for good.
And Caitlin Clark. I will also say that the WNBA is lucky that mainstream media doesn't really cover it, to be honest. Because if this was Luka and JJ Redick, oh my God, there would have been 24-hour coverage of this on every single Fox Sports 1, ESPN, blah, blah, blah. Literally, opening segment would have been this if this was an NBA team. If this was Travis Kelce and his coach, what's that guy, Andy Reid. If this was another major sports league, the W and the Fever are actually lucky that the mainstream media doesn't really cover the W. And I'm also really tired. Sorry, I'm going off on tangent.
The big question everyone is asking is who actually leads this team. Basketball is a game of hierarchy, and right now, the Fever look like they are wandering in the dark. In winning franchises, the hierarchy is clear. You look at a 22-year-old like Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs, and everyone knows he is the one they turn to when things get out of control. Age and seniority do not matter as much as presence. On the Fever, that line is blurred. Is it Stephanie White's team, or is it Caitlin's team? Until that is established, these bench blowouts are going to keep happening.
Of like, this is not a good look. This is not a good look for really anyone involved, and the PR of the Indiana Fever and the PR of the team and specifically Coach Stephanie White has not been great this season. So I do think, yeah, it's not good. It's just not a good look, because also other teams, when they're seeing this, they're like, oh, all we need to do with the Fever is kind of rattle them a little bit and then they're done for. Like, they're having problems on their bench. This is a crack that we can exploit. Like, you as a team, you want to be so together. You want to be so together, and like, I'm not saying stuff like this will never happen, but you want to be so together. Everybody just is all.
When you look at the greatest coaches in history, from Phil Jackson to Greg Popovich, they have a specific kind of seniority that commands silence. Stephanie White is in a tough spot because she is trying to manage the most famous athlete in the history of the league while still trying to build her own authority. Usually, the only time a coach is the undisputed leader is when they have multiple rings on their fingers. On teams like the Aces or the Liberty, everyone knows it belongs to the stars like Aya Wilson or Breanna Stewart. The Fever haven't figured out if the coach or the star holds the keys.
Accolades, if you look at, again, like I told you guys at the beginning of the season, the Indiana Fever has no excuse to be bad this season. They have 3 first-team all WNBA players on their team. They have no excuse to be bad. They should be good. They should be contenders. They should be top 5 this season. They should be able to figure it out. And then on top of that, they're running it back with the same lineup they had last year. They have the familiarity with the players that they played with last year. There really should be no excuses for the Indiana Fever to not be good this year. And so again, you guys, it's still early. They're 4-4 right now. They're a 500 team. It's the first 8 games of the season. And I don't want to overreact because there's plenty of time.
This lack of structure is creating massive cracks that other teams are starting to exploit. Opponents see the chaos on the Fever bench, and they realize all they have to do is rattle them early to make the whole foundation crumble. You want your team to be so together that no outside force can get in your head. But right now, the Fever are doing the work for their opponents. When you are crashing out on the bench and arguing over basic defensive schemes, you are basically handing the win to the other side. The chemistry is lacking, and the world is watching it happen.
Stuff and see what works. But then you even talk about that Portland Fire game, like they're running 11 different players in the first quarter of the game. 11 different Fever players checked in the first quarter of the game, you guys. That's nuts. I haven't heard of that since like CYO basketball. You know what I mean? When everybody needs to get minutes and like somebody's like the neighbor's dad is coaching the game. That's kind of crazy. So I don't know what that experimentation was. I don't understand it, but it wasn't a good game. It's not working out for them. They're losing games that they should be winning early on in the season, and the Fever's schedule is only going to get more difficult. Their next game is against the Atlanta Dream. If they play the way
the mainstream media has been having a field day with this, but they are only focusing on the drama. If this were Luka Doncic and JJ Redick getting into it, we would have 24-hour coverage on every sports network in America. The WNBA is actually lucky that the major networks haven't fully sunk their teeth into this locker room drama yet. Instead, it is the podcasters and the YouTubers who are pushing the real storylines. The media only shows up when there is a controversy to exploit, but they ignore the actual basketball reasons why this team is struggling to find its footing.
I've been on Caitlin and been in Caitlin Clark's corner, but enough is enough now. I'm tired of her behavior. I'm tired of the shoving. I'm tired of the elitist. I'm tired of the entitlement. Enough is enough. Play basketball.
I'm going to stop it right there because there has been a lot of conversations about Caitlin Clark's defense, especially the last 2 games, because both the Golden State Valkyries and the Portland Fire have gone at her on defense. They've tried to ISO her to go at her on defense. This happens a lot in the NBA, but this also comes down to coaching. The best scorer on the team, unless you are the best scorer and also an elite defender.
Cheryl Miller, who has a great relationship with Caitlin, even chimed in to say that this was a bad look. She pointed out that while these arguments happen behind closed doors all the time, letting them spill over into the public eye is disruptive. It creates a narrative that the coach has lost control of the locker room. On the other side, legends like Sue Bird say it is not a big deal and just part of being a competitive athlete. The divide in opinion shows just how polarizing this situation has become. You have two fiery personalities, and neither one is willing to back down. The comparison to teams like the Portland Fire makes the Fever look even worse right now. The Fire are an expansion team with zero expectations, yet they are playing with a chip on their shoulder and a level of confidence that Indiana lacks. They have players like Bridget Carleton having breakout seasons because the franchise believes in them. Meanwhile, the Fever have 3 first-team All-WNBA players, and they are struggling to stay at 500. There is no excuse for a team with this much talent to be this disorganized. They should be top 5 contenders, but they look lost. The coaching strategies have also come under heavy fire lately. Running 11 different players in a single quarter is something you expect to see in a middle school game where everyone needs to get minutes. It does not look like professional experimentation. It looks like desperation. When the neighbor's dad is coaching, you expect chaos, but not at this level. The Fever schedule is only getting more difficult, and if they don't find a consistent rotation soon, they are going to get blown out by 30. The fans are demanding answers, and the coaching staff is running out of time. Just as the rumors of a firing reached a fever pitch, Caitlin Clark finally broke her silence to tell her side of the story. She didn't just give a PR answer. She went on the offensive. She told the media that they are blatantly wrong about a lot of things, and that they are living in a reality that doesn't exist. She made it clear that she rides for Stephanie White, and that the coach has her back more than anyone else in the world. According to Caitlin, the bench argument was nothing more than two competitive people who desperately want to win. Caitlin's reveal was a massive reality check for everyone who thought there was a deep-seated hatred between the player and the coach. She insisted that nobody in the locker room or the coaching staff even thought twice about the exchange. To her, it was just another example of the media blowing something out of proportion because there is a camera on her at all times. She is tired of the narratives being built by people who aren't in the room. This shocking truth suggests that the relationship is actually stronger than it looks on the outside. Despite the optics, however, the drama took a bizarre turn when Skip Bayless fell for a parody account on social media. He tweeted out to his millions of followers that Stephanie White was officially out after her clashes with Caitlin Clark. He even speculated that Caitlin wanted her old college coach to take over the job. It was a massive blunder that showed just how desperate people are for this story to be true. It took less than 2 hours for actual reporters to step in and shut the whole thing down. The fact that a veteran journalist believed a fake report shows the insanity. The Fever organization responded with lightning speed to confirm that Stephanie White is still the head coach. It was one of the first times we have seen the media and the team move that fast to kill a rumor. It shows that the organization is incredibly sensitive to what is being said on social media. While they claim not to listen to the noise, their actions say otherwise. They are clearly aware that the public perception of the White and Clark relationship is at an all-time low, and they are doing everything they can to perform damage control. The best way to shut down bad PR is to simply win basketball games. The Oklahoma City Thunder dealt with massive negative press this season, with people calling them dirty and accusing their stars of flopping on every play. The Thunder didn't put out statements or launch PR campaigns. They just went out and won. The Fever need to take a note out of that book. If they go out and convincingly beat the Atlanta Dream, everyone will forget about the bench spat within a week. Winning is the only medicine that can cure a locker room that is being dissected by the public. But the criticism isn't just coming from social media trolls. Shannon Sharpe recently went on a tirade about Caitlin's behavior on the court. He said he is tired of what he calls the elitism and the entitlement. He argued that while he has always been in her corner, enough is enough. He wants her to stop the shoving and the complaining and just play basketball. When a major voice like Shannon Sharpe starts calling out your character, the pressure moves from the coach to the star player. The narrative is shifting from a coaching problem to a superstar problem. Shannon's biggest gripe was with Caitlin's defense, or lack thereof. He pointed out that if you can't police your best player on the defensive end, you have a major problem. Other teams are starting to ISO Caitlin on every single possession to wear her down. They want to tire out the league's best scorer by making her work on an island. This is a common tactic in the NBA, but the Fever's defensive scheme is making it even worse. They are switching everything, which sets Caitlin up for failure and leaves the rest of the team completely exposed to isolation scorers. The data shows a slightly different story than the highlights, though. Despite the criticism, Caitlin's defensive net rating is actually near the top of her team. She is being targeted at a rate triple that of any other player, which makes every mistake look magnified. You can't expect an elite offensive player to suddenly become a lockdown defender overnight. Legends like Steph Curry and Luka Doncic have never been the best defenders on their teams, and they managed to find a way to win. The schematic failure of the Fever might be more to blame than Caitlin's effort. The truth is that the Indiana Fever are at a crossroads. They have the talent, they have the spotlight, and they have the most famous player on the planet, but they are missing the cohesion that defines a championship team. The argument between Stephanie and Caitlin was a symptom of a much larger issue. It was a release of pressure from a group that feels the weight of the world on their shoulders. Caitlin's defense of her coach was a start, but words only go so far when the scoreboard isn't moving in the right direction. We are seeing a team try to figure out its identity in the middle of a hurricane. Stephanie White is trying to implement a system while the fans are calling for her head every time she pulls a starter. Caitlin is trying to transition to the pro game while being treated like a villain and a hero at the same time. It is a volatile mix that is bound to explode again if they don't find a way to trust each other. The silence has been broken, but the tension remains just beneath the surface of every huddle and every timeout. The upcoming game against Atlanta is going to be the ultimate litmus test. It is a rivalry game with a massive amount of hype, and the fans want to see the best version of both teams. If the Fever play with the same lack of energy they showed recently, they will get embarrassed on a global stage. This is the moment where Stephanie White has to prove she can lead, and Caitlin Clark has to prove she can follow. They need to show the world that their bond is real and not just something they said to satisfy the media. As the dust settles on this latest controversy, one thing is clear. The Indiana Fever are the most talked about team for all the wrong reasons. They are living in a fishbowl where every gesture is analyzed by millions. Whether the relationship between the coach and the star is actually broken or just intensely competitive, it is the only thing people care about right now. They have the chance to change the story, but it will require a level of maturity and discipline that we haven't seen from them consistently this season. At the end of the day, fans are going to be there if the team is winning and playing exciting basketball. All of this extra noise goes away the moment the shots start falling and the defense starts clicking. We will forget about the Skip Bayless rumors and the Shannon Sharpe critiques if the Fever can just find their rhythm. The shocking truth revealed by Caitlin is that they are all on the same side. Now, they just have to prove it on the court and show the world that this fire on the bench is what will eventually lead them to a title.